You've tried everything to break free. You've deleted the apps, blocked the sites, promised yourself this is the last time. But the temptation keeps coming back, and you're starting to believe you're broken beyond repair. What if I told you that the struggle you're desperate to escape is actually the very thing that's going to forge you into who you're meant to become? You've begged for it to go away. You've stayed up late fighting with yourself. You've cried in frustration, deleted everything, started over countless times, and yet the desire still lingers. The struggle won't leave. You whisper into the dark, "Why? Why won't this leave me alone?" And the silence feels crushing. But what if the very thing you've been desperate to escape is the very thing that's shaping you into something stronger? What if the struggle that cuts you deepest is not your curse, but your calling in disguise? Stay with me, because we're going to uncover a truth that could change everything. The hidden purpose behind your struggle, and the secret to your freedom. The battle beneath the surface. You've fought. You've tried willpower. You've made promises to yourself. Take it away. Please. I hate this. But here's what most people never realize. Temptation is not just a weakness. It's a symptom. And every symptom points to something deeper. A wound, a hunger, a need that's crying out beneath the surface. The battle you're fighting is not about behavior. It's about identity. Shame whispers, "You're worthless. You're disgusting. You'll never be good enough." And that becomes your prison. But there's another voice, one that says, "You're more than your worst moment. You're more than your struggle. Your identity is not bound to your weakness. It's bound to something greater, the thorn and the grace." There was a man named Paul in ancient scripture who begged 3 times to have a thorn removed from his flesh. We don't know what it was. Some say sickness. Others whisper it was temptation. But the answer he received was the same for all of us who've prayed that desperate prayer. "My grace is sufficient for you." Not instant deliverance, not immediate healing, just grace. Why? Because sometimes your struggle isn't punishment. It's an invitation to discover a strength that only reveals itself in weakness. Without the struggle, pride grows. Without the struggle, dependence fades. But with it, you fight. You grow. You stay close to what matters. The test before elevation. Consider Joseph. Tempted day after day by his boss's wife, he ran from sin. And where did it lead him? Not to a throne, but to a prison. Why would that happen? Because struggle is often the test before elevation. Before the palace comes the prison. Before the crown comes the cross. Before glory comes the fire. Your delay is not cruelty. It's preparation. Life is refining the character it intends to trust with destiny. The power of vision. Temptation always begins with the eyes. Eve saw the fruit, desired it, and took it. Thousands of years later, the pattern hasn't changed. That's why ancient wisdom says, guard your vision carefully, not because life is cruel, but because vision is powerful. What enters through the eye can chain the heart. Even the greatest leaders were tempted in every way. Yes, every way. That includes the desires of the flesh. And yet, they fought back. How? With 3 words. It is written. Truth was their sword, and it can be yours too. Why the struggle remains. So why doesn't the struggle just disappear? Why doesn't it vanish forever? Because deliverance without dependence breeds complacency. If you got instant freedom, would you still chase growth? Or would you stop fighting altogether? Life delays not because it's cruel, but because it's after something deeper than just obedience. It's after transformation. It wants your tears, your surrender, your desperate resolve. It wants you to fight when nothing makes sense. Because in that fighting, you're transformed. The fire doesn't destroy you, it purifies you. The secret most people miss. Every click, every glance, every fantasy is a silent agreement with darkness. But here's the secret. If you made the agreement, you can break it. You are not your addiction. You are not defined by your weakest moment. The enemy doesn't attack what doesn't threaten him. Your struggle is proof that you are dangerous to mediocrity. If darkness can corrupt your purity, it can chain your destiny. But hear me, your freedom doesn't need superhuman strength, only your decision. Say it aloud. I choose better. 3 words that shatter strongholds. 3 words that change everything. Confession is warfare. What you expose loses power over you. Temptation thrives in the shadows but dies in the light. That's why isolation is the enemy's favorite weapon, to convince you you're alone. But you're not. You're not the only one fighting this war. And your breakthrough will one day become someone else's inspiration. The wilderness of refining. Ancient people wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, not because they were lost, but because they were being refined. Every delay was a lesson. Every dry place was a proving ground. The wilderness was not punishment. It was preparation. And maybe that's what your repeated cycle really is. Not a sign that you've been abandoned, but that you're being shaped for something greater. The waiting, the wrestling, the moments you fall and rise again, they are not wasted. They are building endurance, humility, and character. When David prayed, "Turn my eyes from worthless things," he wasn't being poetic. He was fighting a spiritual war with sacred words. That prayer was a key that unlocks clarity when desire clouds your soul. The covenant of the eyes. Job made a covenant with his eyes not to look lustfully. That wasn't metaphor. It was warfare. He consecrated his vision. Have you done that yet? Your eyes are windows to your soul. If those windows stay unguarded, darkness enters freely. But temptation is not the destination. It's a door to compromise, to shame, to spiritual corrosion. That's why the war feels so relentless. Because behind this door lies everything you're meant to become. Worship as a weapon. The voice of temptation is ancient. It whispers, just once. No one will know. But that voice is not yours. It belongs to a force that's haunted humanity since the beginning. Yet here's its greatest weakness. It trembles when you choose worship. When you lift your focus in the middle of temptation, its power crumbles. Willpower may fail, but worship is fire. Praise silences shame. The blueprint to freedom. There's one truth darkness fears above all others. Walk in the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Not maybe, not sometimes. You will not. That's the blueprint to freedom. Not through effort alone, but through surrender. When you walk in purpose, temptation loses its grip. The thorn keeps you close. You've prayed, "Why won't this leave me?" But maybe the struggle keeps you humble. It reminds you where your strength really comes from. Your struggle isn't proof of absence. It's proof of presence. Strength dwells with the weak. So when temptation comes, fight back. Pray that ancient prayer. Declare, "I choose purity." Confess. Remember who you are. Not addict, not failure, not shame,